Hello and welcome to another episode of Statford Bridge, Chelsea by the Numbers, international break episode. I thought it'd be fun to talk about Chelsea have been doing a team of 120 thing that came out. I'm recording this like quite a ways before that this will come out. Um, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about, like, from a data perspective, what I know about some of these players, because some of these players are like old enough that the data available for them is not very thorough. But also just like talk about some of the players that I liked and loved, and go from there, because I think it's cool that they did something like this. So team has to play a 4-3-3, and you get your pick on the player. So I thought I'd go through and we can have some fun with it. For goalkeeper, there's some interesting names, like some of the older guys I don't really know, like Jim Molyneux and Vic Woodley. And it's funny, like I was a goalkeeper when I played, and the first Chelsea goalkeeper that I can remember is Ed De Goey, because he was a lunatic, and I remember people talking about him being crazy as a child. But I was more in line with the like Kudicini Czech era when I was growing up. I actually met a guy in Canada who is very good friends with Carlo Kudicini, who met him on a coaching license, and was telling me stories about how like he was the nicest guy ever, which was I always said interesting. But I think the most obvious answer here is Petr Cech. I think one of the fun analytical things to think about with Petr Cech is that if you look at his first season with Chelsea, the 04-05 season, where or not 04-05, 05-06 season, no, 04-05, where Chelsea concede 15 goals the whole season, he only concedes 13. We don't have XG for that era, right? Like, StatsBomb went back and did Arsenal Invincibles because Ted Knutson, their founder, is an Arsenal fan, and it was a really hard time for them to find the video. I've tried to find the video of every game from this season so I could go do the stats myself, and I couldn't do it. I was only able to find like maybe 20 of the games. So if anybody has the video, feel free to send it my way for all the games. But I think when you look at like a goalkeeper has a 13 goal conceded season, like we've seen every year, everybody posts the stats of like 20 games into the season, they're like, another year, nobody's going to break Chelsea's record. And like, I think that's very much true. I would love to see what the XG prevented stats say for that season for Petr Cech, because I bet you it is insane for that season. Just disgustingly good, I bet. But yeah, very, very excellent career. I used to wear a Petr Cech goalkeeper kit for my club team. Obviously, my favorite historical Chelsea goalkeeper. Right backs is a fun list. Again, I'm gonna skew recent. Like I'm not old. I'm not even 30. I think the right back that I've enjoyed the most is Cesar Azpilicueta. He feels very Chelsea. Like signed for a cut price fee. Like wasn't that good, but he was just so nails and so like, I don't know, if you think about all the like really crazy seasons that he had at Chelsea, where like Chelsea were really good. He won 2 titles. He won a Champions League. He won a Europa. Like he won a lot. I don't know. It feels like he was very, very central to a lot of those moments. So he's my right back pick. He didn't have great data. He had a couple seasons with like pretty high XA totals, but he was never like a crazy attacking fullback. Some of the Conte seasons, I'd be curious to see the Conte seasons where he was right center back, what those looked like, because I bet you there's some solid numbers there. Left back is Ashley Cole. Marcus Alonso is probably actually my favorite. He was more fun, but Ashley Cole is like lights out. Again, fullbacks are weird. The data on them is kind of whatever. At center back, John Terry is my number one. I believe, I don't know if he still is, but I believe he was the highest scoring non-penalty taking defender of all time. Just being an absolute menace on set pieces. I think there are worlds like with today's set piece stuff, like he would have been just an absolute menace as an attacker. And I think one of the things that we don't have data to go back and look, but I would love to see his passing numbers, because I bet you he was a progressive pass absolute monster, because he was such a good passer with both feet, which is always really, really fun. And my other center back is Ricardo Carvalho, who was just always fun and feels like the one that like pairs with John Terry the best. In midfielder number one is N'Golo Kante. I remember hearing a story about N'Golo Kante and about his metrics in Ligue 1 and Liga for Caen being so good as a dribbling and ball-winning midfielder that the fee should have been something like 10 times what Leicester ended up paying. Chelsea got him for a £32 million release clause. He was never prolific as a scorer or creator. But if you look, he actually had some monster passing seasons, which is not what you remember him as. Like, he had some absolute monster passing seasons. Like, 8 progressive passes a game with all the other stuff he does is insane. And then you look at the ball winning. You look at the ball winning stuff, and it's just obscene. It's obscene. Like, he was north of 5 tackles and interceptions a game, almost at like huge ball winner. And he had the big, I talk about this with Caicedo sometimes, but like Caicedo doesn't even hold a candle. That Conte had like a big shutdown corner thing where like if he was in the vicinity, you didn't even try stuff because of him. And I think one of the funny things is like he had a really low tackle win percentage because the way tackles are defined is stupid. But he had a really fun player. My second midfielder is Ruud Gullit. For no reason other than if you ask me to think of Chelsea, he, like, one of the first pictures in my head is him. Like with the dress, like it's just one of the first pictures I have in my head is Ruud Gullit, and I don't really know why because it was before my time, but it is a thing. And the last one is Frank Lampard. I was never a big Lampard guy, but my first ever Chelsea game was his first match back at Stamford Bridge after retiring, where he did a lap of honor at halftime and everybody sang, and I was like, oh, that was really cool. And I think people severely underestimate how good a goal scorer he was. If we had XG numbers for some of his seasons, even if you took penalties out, like some of these seasons would be absolutely gargantuan XG plus XA, like Kevin De Bruyne or better level seasons with way more minutes and way more defensive contribution, all those sorts of things. A story I heard about Frank Lampard towards the end of his career at Chelsea was that he was somewhat anti-data as a guy. Like he was not into data. He was like, I don't want to hear it. And people forget that the late Gary Gillade was the first guy to create an analytics department in the Premier League, and that was at Chelsea. And he was allegedly like quite anti-data toward the end of his career or during his career as a player. But as he got older and he was like, I can't do the things I can do anymore, his shot locations went way up. If you look at his XG per shot, which like we're right at the beginning of XG towards the end of this, and I've seen some of this data, his XG per shot numbers in his last couple seasons at Chelsea, at City, and then at NYCFC. At NYCFC, he was nuts. He was a stat darling. His XG per shot numbers were humongous. Just one of the most intelligent midfielders I've ever seen. Like, in terms of timing to arrive in the box, just crazy. Just crazy. I think I think he's someone who would, some aspects of his game would not translate super well to today. Like, it's a little bit different, but his ability to arrive in the box, I think, is something he would feast today. As the wide players, Eden Hazard is my first choice. Hazard is very fun to think about stats-wise because we have his peak. We have some of his peak we have real data for. And the fun thing about Hazard is, like, you look at the XG plus XA numbers, and they're not nearly as good as you would think they are. Like the Maurizio Sarri season, he puts up 16 goals, 15 assists on 10 XG, 10 XA. And you're like, I don't know, that's not that good. The fun things about Hazard was like career XG demolisher as a finisher, because he could score with both feet. Super, super talented finisher. He could drive it, he could side foot it, he could dink it, he could score from outside the box. He was an XG demolisher for his career. I've seen some people look at his early seasons, and even those for Chelsea are just huge. Like, consistently 12 goals, 7 XG type stuff. Like, just a monster finisher. And the other is, like, he actually never scored as much as he probably should have for what he was. Like, he was always like 15 goals. He was never 20 goals, even with penalties. But the fun thing is, when we were building goals added, which is our model for possession value stuff at ASA, at American Soccer Analysis, when we were like back testing it, basically looking at old seasons, the Sarri Hazard season kept popping up as like, oh, this guy's unbelievable. And a lot of it was because the team was so dependent on him for final third ball progression and shot generation and all the things you care about. Like, this was a guy who his last season at Chelsea was taking only 3 shots per game, was destroying his XG on it, but was also creating like a huge number of shots. Like, he was creating 3 shots a game for his teammates. He was moving the ball into the box 3 times a game, and not by crossing it. Huge progressive passing numbers, huge progressive carry numbers. Did no defending. Absolutely zero. But like 15 progressive receptions a game and 9 progressive carries and 9 progressive passes is just unbelievable ball progression stuff. Like, the things he would do from Reska's Chelsea right now would be outrageous. So Eden Hazard is number 1 attacker. Number 2 is like the prototype, Joe Cole. I don't really know why. I was really like Joe Cole. He ended up at Lille, which I always found fun. He also played for Tampa Bay in USL or in NASL, which I thought was really fun. He's another player that like had enough injuries and missed enough stuff that he was probably never as good as he should have been. But I bet you these early seasons at Chelsea, like 04, 05, 05, 06, where he was mostly a sub, or like maybe not mostly a sub, but not always a starter, I bet you his numbers in those seasons were insane. Because that kind of role where you're like the spark plug dynamo who doesn't start every game, those but for a good team, those players put up huge numbers. And he's a player, I think, if you think about today's game, he would have translated incredibly well to today's game in terms of his like ability to ride challenges and be press resistant, but also he was like pretty dogged defensively. Like, if his body held up in today's game, I think he would be a tremendously productive player. And then my center forward, I mean, the obvious one is Drogba, like it is, but my pick is Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. I don't know why. I know that my first Chelsea memory is him scoring a hat trick. I was living in Ireland as a child, and I just remember him scoring a hat trick in 2000, 2001, or 2001, 2002. Can't remember which. But that is my first Chelsea memory, which I'm always fond of. And he was exceptionally talented striker. Score with both feet. The XG numbers that he would have put up today are gargantuan. He's a player who, again, the style of play I think would have translated immensely. So that's my team. That's my team of the 120. I don't have a player to add. That's my team. Petr Cech in goal, Azpilicueta and Ashley Cole fullbacks, Sean Terry, Ricky Carvalho center backs, Conte, Hullett, and Frank Lampard. What a midfield that would be. Eden Hazard and Joe Cole, and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank as the 9. You know, there's a quite fun 3-4-3 in there. You could get there. You could do some fun things. Anyways, that's my team. I hope you enjoyed listening. And as always, enjoy the soccer.